It says live. Not really live. There we go. What's going on, guys? Just give me about 30 seconds to get set up here. This is much different than all the others that we've done before. This little tent thing, this DIY sauna, is a real challenge to set this up. So give me just 30 seconds or so to get going and figure out how to get myself in here while still being able to see your commentary. Let's see. Okay. All right. Because of the limitations of this thing, there's no glass in this. So it's impossible to see everything. I won't be able to see who's here. All I'll be able to see is your chat. So if you don't put something in the chat, I have no idea what's going on. Thank you very much, Truth Provider. Let's get this going. All right. I saw your comments about this being a fun episode. Fun for you guys. This is kind of a bear for me to, I can't figure out how to leave enough space because the only window that is in this thing is up as tall as my head, and there's no way to get the laptop up that high unless you put it on a ladder, and then the cord to the camera doesn't reach. So this has been a fun last half hour trying to figure this out. And I have no idea if anyone is here besides you because I can't see the other part of the screen and can't even see myself. So if I'm not in frame, you guys will have to let me know. The controller is right there. It's a great setup. What we should preface, it's a great setup watching from home. This has been challenging this evening. Let's do this. Okay, I think we're ready to get started. Hopefully I'm in frame. You guys are going to have to help tonight. So hopefully there are people on. I can't see how many people are here, or if anyone is here besides Truth Provider. Please put stuff in the chat. The only thing I can see on the screen is the chat. So I'm going to get going here, see if we can't get a sweat on. 8 watching. Thank you very much. Okay, one of the things that is going to be a little dicey is these red lights in this DIY sauna really mess with the camera. So there is half of the little zip door, or whatever you want to call it, is open so the lights from the room can come in and so that I can see the screen so we don't fry the laptop. But I'm going to look like this. I mean, I can kind of, the only thing that I can see on the screen is this little piece of my face and my shoulder here. And I see looks like an infrared it looks like a FLIR camera almost. But so how you guys doing tonight? What's happening? We'll see if I can still get a decent sweat with the door partially open. Matt the Friendly Martian. Yeah, pretty much. That was a good movie too, by the way. Love that movie. There is a couple of things now that I can get going here. There's a couple of questions. The reason I'm in the DIY sauna tonight is not to promote it because this is actually too difficult to film in here compared to the other stuff. The glass windows and actual, ceiling lights make it much easier to film. But there was a lady, I think it was a lady, I'm looking for it right now. But anyway, she or he, if I have it backwards, requested that I do a 30 for 30 episode in the DIY sauna so that they can see how well it works. And this makes me chuckle because there's about 30 videos between the free ones on the actual DIY sauna course and the stuff that I put up on YouTube where you can see me sweating bullets in it. But nonetheless, it was requested, so I'm doing it. This, if you guys don't know, you probably do, because I talk about the same stuff over and over. At least it's very common to me. This is a DIY sauna tent. So if you are a person that is not able or doesn't have the space to purchase like a large wooden sauna, this is an idea that I came up with and fleshed out during COVID. You know, how do we get saunas and, you know, some type of sweat equipment into a place without a lot of money, not a permanent location? This is one of those ways. Heat lamps is what's powering this sauna. They're not my favorite thing, but they're the only thing that you can really use with just an on-off switch. You don't need really a controller or a thermostat or anything to run a set of electronics to use like far infrared panels and a bunch of them, and then maintain temperature and make sure the house doesn't burn down. So it was one of the only ways that I could come up with to give people access to this. And let's see, the red contrast really shows the sweat on you clearly. Yeah, I'm kind of worried about that though. I'm not, it may seem like I'm sweating, but I'm not really sweating yet. The only sweat that I can feel is right here. And in the photo, or in the photo, on the screen, it kind of looks like this is sweat, and I'm definitely not sweating. I just got in here. It's probably going to take, it'll probably take 15 minutes for me to start sweating in here, like a decent amount. But keep me updated. Throw something in the chat if it looks funny, or if you're wondering like what stage I'm at or what have you. Don't know if anybody else signed on, but the only person that has commented tonight is Truth Provider. So if you guys want to talk about stuff other than me kind of going yada yada on how hard it is to set this thing up for camera, CC says, hello. Hi, CC. I recognize you from another night. Thank you for tuning in. Good to see you here. What do you guys want to chat about tonight? There's a couple other, wanted to ask you about the 3 different types of EMF. Sure, go ahead. What do you want to know? It's mostly electric fields, magnetic fields, and RF radiation. So EMF, everyone says EMF like it's one thing, but EMF stands for electromagnetic fields. So that's electric fields and magnetic fields. Those are mostly coming from AC power. The third type that's prominent would be RF radiation. Those are basically transmissions. So smart meters, Wi-Fi routers, cell phones, cell towers, that kind of stuff. Are the red lights hard on my eyes? No, not for me. I mean, I don't look at them, and the way that we've kind of placed them in the sauna, it's very specific. So the part where the camera is located right now, and I can't even tell if, I don't even know. You can see that, okay. Sorry. The part where the camera is located right now is where I look when I'm in here. And there's only heat lamps above and below, direct line of sight. I would not recommend staring into the bulbs, and you can buy protective goggles and things like that if you're worried about it. People have asked about that. I don't notice any issues with these at all, but it's just like, it's kind of like, would you stare at a ceiling fan bulb, you know, for however long? As long as you're not having them direct line of sight, and these are very hot, so you wouldn't want to be close to them, definitely dry out your eyes or cause other problems, most likely. Is there only one quoted by low EMF sauna companies? CC says. I'm not sure what you mean. Let me think about that. CC says, is there only one quoted by the low EMF sauna companies? I only stare at lava lamps. 10-4. Like they say low EMF, but not really. Yeah, that's super common. I mean, it's really rampant in the industry, right? Like it's the whole purpose behind the brand Certified Saunas. Like the reason that I came up with the Certified Sauna list is to have a consistent testing process in the same room, because if you switch rooms or you have different people do it, or you test with different meters that are calibrated differently, or the testing procedure is at all different, you know, you can have a wide variance in measurements. But to answer your question directly, you have to really watch what the companies are saying. Let me think about how I could give you an example of that. And just so you guys know, the door to this thing is like, well, I wonder if I can show you. That would help a lot, wouldn't it? The door to this thing is not zipped up. Just give me 1 second, CC, and I'll get right back to your question. Let me loosen this just a little bit. I think people would appreciate it if I started showing a little bit more of what's going on. So there's a room here there is desk and microphone out there connected to, oh, you can't see it. Never mind. Okay, sorry. Anyway, this thing is wide open, so if I don't start sweating bullets after about 20 minutes, you know why. So CC, there's two examples that I can think of off the top of my head that are rampant in the industry. The first is somebody telling you that a sauna, or not even a sauna, it could be anything, is low EMF, and they're only testing for one when they should be testing for both. And then they kind of fall back on, oh, well, the WHO hasn't issued, warnings for this at such and such a level or whatever. But that's not really the point. When people are spending $5,000 on a piece of health equipment and it's being marketed a certain way, you expect it to be that way. And when it's not, rightfully so, it's extremely upsetting. And so here's the two things that most sauna companies do. The first is they'll say, oh yeah, it's low EMF, right? And they'll show you a magnetic field meter in milligauss measurement, checking for magnetic fields, but they don't bother to check electric fields. They don't bother to check body voltage. So using body voltage is really just a backup fail-safe way to check for stray electric fields. And so most of the time, magnetic fields drop off significantly with distance, but electric fields usually do not. So like, for example, there's some electric fields in here. We can't get them out without great expense. Yet it's not so high that I wouldn't use this thing, but I also don't go around telling people that this is a zero EMF sauna. Conversely, there's hardly any magnetic fields in here, which is remarkable. The other situation that comes up a lot is somebody will take an RF meter, like an Acousticom or even a tri-field meter, put it on RF setting, and in their marketing propaganda, they'll have a cell phone with their meter inside the sauna. And they'll show that the cell phone generates RF radiation of a particular level. That's usually in volts per meter, not milligauss, which is a completely different measurement. Generally requires a totally different meter and skill set to test that. And they will say something along the lines of, look, your cell phone has this much EMF, and look, let's step into our sauna, and this is how much EMF our sauna has. So to me, that's a bait and switch. Those are the two most common scenarios that I see. Thank you, Truth Provider. You are a godsend. I'm not sure what I'm going to do for you, but I'm going to have to send you a goodie bag or something. Thank you for being consistent. Appreciate your presence, and thanks for the update, because I have no idea what's going on. I can't see anything except the chat because there's just not enough room. Markland says, hey guys, how's it going tonight? Good to see you again. I recognize you from the other days. Does that make sense, CC? I'm not sure in what regards you're asking, probably just trying to get educated so that you can watch out for pitfalls. And the other way that that's kind of used against you is some shady sauna companies will suggest that you should spend more money to get either a lower level or to have, not a feature, but some type of lower EMF environment. But the actual testing method is using third-party reports, which if you read the fine print on those, even some of the sauna companies that I recommend, by the way, market these third-party reports. But if you actually look at them, some of them specifically say one heater was removed from the sauna, sent to a lab in Virginia. They hang it by a chain from a forklift, and then they take the measurements. Well, that's all great. I mean, I'm sure that facility does a great job, but that's only one out of the 8 heaters that are in the sauna. So what about the other 7? And what about the wires in the walls? What about the power supply? What about, being in an enclosed environment that's really tight with all this stuff all around you? That's what creates the bad environment, really. It's not just one heater. So I have a huge issue or disdain for third-party EMF reports. They can easily be faked. Was looking at Durham Cerna, has low milligauss but high electric fields. I can't remember. I've tested that one before. We're going to test it again pretty soon. I have a brand new one in the closet over there. So eventually, wouldn't want to promise you a date that's going to be done by. But I think if you go on YouTube, I've got a video from 3 or 4 years ago with me in a Durham. But you might be right. Maybe it is low magnetic, high electric. I just can't remember. It's been too long. But at the end of the day, some sauna is usually better than no sauna, unless it's one of the worst culprits. Like, what was that brand? I think it's Blue Wave, like Blue Wave products or Blue Wave designs, or I don't know. They're a mass manufacturer that produces a ton of imported products for Amazon. One of the things that they do is saunas. Those are some of the worst saunas that I've been in, to the point where you can smell adhesives and stuff when it heats up. That's probably a bad idea. That sauna would be worse to use than no sauna at all. You'd be better off not, because you're most likely breathing in, you know, adhesive vapor and things like that. Not good, not good at all. But the Durham, I can't remember. I mean, it's not going to be the worst thing in the world. So if that's what you want, I would say, you know, go for it, and then maybe later upgrade to something else, or build this. I mean, we did the course. I think the course is $10, and you can buy the parts for $220 or something like that. So for $250, under $300 shipped, I mean, you can build this exact thing that I'm sitting in, if you're looking for something cheap. Original Starbucks says, you made the tent you're in. I did. Yes, I did. We did I tested this stuff for months. Been testing this thing since COVID. And in fact, my cousin came over again today, and we tried to film not an ADA compliant version, but basically a super large version where multiple people could get in here, and you could seat 2 or 3 to either do group sessions, or if it was somebody that needed assistance, like onto a transfer bench or wheelchair. We were trying to create something that would help folks like that, or work, because this is a little too narrow. Like a transfer bench is almost the whole width of this. So there's no room for somebody else to be in here. We failed, or I shouldn't say I failed miserably in the measurements earlier today. So the products and the sizes and the frame that I ordered was not a good fit. The door openings were too short. And yeah, so we're going to have to redo that. But anyway, long story short, CC says, looking forward to it. I'm probably going to go for the Therasage. My other half is too lazy to build. I mean, it's pretty easy. I mean, if you watch the free videos, I mean, there's too many free videos. Like, it's too much content on the DIY sauna course. You can pretty much get an idea of what it takes to make it without even buying anything. So, but I understand if you guys don't want to build anything. Truth Provider says the DIY sauna is great for when you're in a pinch to get a sauna. Yes, 100%. It's a really great idea. Thank you. If I couldn't afford a Radiant Health sauna, I would definitely buy your DIY sauna. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, yeah, that is the target market. It's a solution for people who are either in an apartment, not going to stay there, scared to spend money on a you know, a wooden sauna, both because it might not fit or the power requirements might not work in their next place, and for fear of having to move it or damage it or whatever. I mean, I've heard all this stuff over the years that people are worried about. And it's an excellent, cheap way to still get some heat therapy in your house for, I mean, there's nothing cheaper that works better than this, bar none. But I've got to be careful about what I say about that, right? Because I don't want people to think that you shouldn't buy tent saunas. If you want a tent sauna, by all means, buy a tent sauna. But it's kind of hard to ignore that for $300, we have something that you can stand up in, that you can make yourself, and it has less EMF as a whole than the majority of the saunas, that like the portable saunas that sell for $200, $600, $800, $1,300. It's kind of, I mean, I think they could do a better job, really. Brad Bartell says, built mine for about 170. That's awesome. Is it this exact configuration, or is it something else? Like, how are you able to save a little money? Because one of the things that happened is I've been working on this for months. It just released a few weeks ago. But when I first started, you know, I ordered a set of heat lamps. I went back through my Amazon history, and what I was paying in the past for the bulbs, the actual housings, the frame, different parts and things like that, has fluctuated. So the whole goal was to get people to be able to do this for under $200. But now it's more like $225, $235. Some days it's $250. And I have no control over how they do those price fluctuations. But be really interested if you could throw in, how did you make it more affordable? And is it the same size, or is it less lights? Like, are we skimping somewhere, or did you source stuff from a cheaper source that I should tell people about? All that kind of stuff, if you don't mind sharing. Truth Provider says it's a great value. Metal frame over plastic is a very sensible idea. Yeah, there was some definitely cheaper like tent options, and I don't think this tent is the best thing in the world. There's a few things about it that I really don't like, but it's the best option that you can get for the money, and that comes with a metal frame. And I really wanted to offer like a PVC option. I just couldn't in good conscience, and especially for liability purposes. Like, I would hesitate to put my friends and family in here if it had a plastic frame, because there's nothing alarming that's going on right now that would melt the plastic. But, you know, if you had kids or somebody tampered with this and then you got in it, and God forbid something were to melt through and this thing, you know, collapsed on you because the PVC frame couldn't withstand direct contact with, you know, severe heat sources like that, that would be just a bad situation. Dan says, would you recommend it for our protocol, knowing we need to generate sebaceous sweat? I can never pronounce that right. I mean, you would have to test it. I don't know. There's kind of a limit with this. It's excellent if you don't have access to a regular far infrared sauna. And I mean, people are getting just as good of results with it. But if you're doing a targeted range protocol like that, I mean, it's really nice to have a more controlled environment. Like, you know, the tent works and everything, and the Reflectix is great, but it's not a wooden sauna. It's not a wooden sauna, Dan. I'm trying to think how we could test that. The only thing that I would want to make sure is that I could generate, because there's kind of a tipping point with this, right? In a far infrared sauna, you can sort of adjust the output and make it kind of like generally not softer, but basically a more even output. So when someone reaches their threshold, you can continue to keep them in past the point of to complete their protocol for the day, like the number of minutes. With this, even though it's on a remote, so the idea is that you can turn it down, right, with the click of a button. But if you're doing the niacin detox protocol, it's going to be a lot harder to keep you within that target range where you can still tolerate it, yet continue to generate the right amount of sweat to finish the day's, you know, like I can't think today. You know what I'm saying? We would have to test it. I don't know how I would do that remotely. I don't know. I'm not sure about that 100%. Plastic can be dangerous. Absolutely. Brad says, same setup, but bigger, 4x4 with multi-head floor lamp with 4 lights that can move around closer or further. Yeah, I've seen that. Okay. So you are not using, you didn't have to buy all the clamp lights. You just bought one fixture, 4 bulbs, and then it's basically in a dome, or not a dome design. Man, I'm struggling today. It's in a diamond pattern or like a Dr. Wilson design, something like that. Same setup, but bigger 4x4. So you're saying the size of the tent, that it was 48 by 48, so it's a rectangle or a square instead of like this is a rectangle. It's 5 feet long, 3 feet wide, but it's almost 7 feet tall. So we did that so that I could really stand up in here when we're filming, but not everybody needs it to be quite that tall. But we discovered today, if somebody's using this for transfer or to help someone in an assisted setup, the extra height is definitely warranted. But I'm assuming that the 4x4 tent is less money than this, is what you're saying. Cool, good to know. CC says, you should set up the first ever Zoom sauna meetup. Yeah, I was thinking about getting a mixer and some software so that I could have you guys come into the live and, you know, show you on video without using Zoom. I'm not a huge fan of Zoom. It's not my favorite thing. I do it if I have to use it, but I don't think I'd want to use it all the time. But that'd be an interesting idea. So we're all going to be sweating on screen and then telling jokes to each other, just like the Europeans did. Are you guys going to have the shot of vodka? Get detoxinated says thanks. Yeah, sorry, Dan. I just don't know. I want to say yes, but I would hate to say yes, and it's cumbersome because I know exactly what you want to do with it or what you would try to do with it. I could probably, I mean, when we get done with all this stuff, I'm gonna have some leftover parts. Maybe I could send you one. You guys could set it up. You could try it yourself and see what you think. That'd be kind of cool. I mean, this is a rudimentary thing, right? So I'm really hesitant to be like, oh yeah, it works okay. It'll do what everyone needs. You know, this is a get you by type of deal. CC says, count me in. Brad says 4x4 by 80-inch tall, 125 on Amazon. Okay, so it is cheaper. Yeah, because these were fluctuating almost up to $150 at some point for the tent. And especially the one that I put in the course has changed price a bunch of times. It's been at least $139 the majority of the time. Truth Provider, what temp does it get to roughly? I have no idea, especially right now. I mean, the door's open. We got camera wires coming in. I'm watching the laptop. I would have no idea. It still raises your core temperature, but I'm not getting the sensation that I'm going to be, you know, really, really getting a great sweat right now unless I zip this up. Because basically it's letting all the heat out. I'm getting some from the bulbs, but it's not really performing with this much of the door open. And I'm curious how we're doing on time. I don't want to go for an hour again tonight. Today I feel like I need a break a little bit. We're at 9:24. Okay, so 24 minutes in. I don't know how many people are on, but let me see if I can move that a little bit. 20 watching. Okay. All right, guys, we're way past the halfway point. So if there's things you want to talk about today, if you have questions, throw some stuff in the chat. It's going on 25 minutes now, so I'm not going to go for an hour like I did yesterday. That was really just to test this thing out and see how it would hold up. I don't think I'm going to get a super good sweat in here without zipping it up, and I just can't do that while we're live. So for the last 5 or 10 minutes or so before I go, let me know what you want to always, Markland. Markland says, I think it says Markland. I'm sorry if it doesn't. Do you ever do cold shower after sauna? Almost always, but I do contrast showers though. So if it's a time that I've really increased my core temperature or I've done multiple sessions with breaks in between and I'm like super, super hot, I will start the shower on warm so that it sort of matches my body temperature a little bit. This is just my preference. This is not right or wrong or the way that you should do it or whatever. I'm just telling you exactly what I do. So I start the shower on warm so that it matches my current body temperature. I get in, then I turn it to cold, get the shock going, see how I feel. And usually you can overcome that with your breathing. But after you overcome the initial shock, sometimes I like to go back and contrast the shower. So I'll go back to hot, then back to cold, then back to hot, then back to cold, until I can get it all the way on cold and I'm starting to acclimate and cool down. No reason you can't do it the other way. Just do it on cold. That's just my preference. Dan says, audience, do you have any questions for our Thursday Zoom interview about sauna detoxification using niacin? That's a good, yeah, if you guys have any questions, I have 2 written down from comments on YouTube videos from yesterday and the day before. But if there's anything you guys want us to talk about specifically for sauna detox or niacin usage or binders or any particular type of toxin or poisoning, heavy metals, chemicals, pesticides, all that stuff, let me know what that is and I will jot those down and be sure to include them in our chat. Susan says, how do you feel? Like right now? I feel tired, Susan. We're on day 9 of a 30 for 30 sauna challenge. And not only have I done the sauna challenge, I've been doing brutal workouts to meet my weight loss goals as well at 5 p.m. Eastern. So basically at the end of the day, I do an hour, pretty tough workout. Then I eat dinner. I usually shower. I relax for an hour, rest. And then I come in here and we do this. And then it's time to go to bed. So I needed a break over the weekend, but I didn't take it because I made a commitment and I like being here for you guys. But for me personally, my body is fine. Like I can tolerate 30 for 30, no problem. But mentally or emotionally or whatever, sometimes you just need a break or want to go have a beer, go to dinner, go to something, right? But I've also been working a lot, so it's pedal to the metal around here. But I like doing this. I'm learning. It's so weird, you know, as much sauna exposure as I've had, and as so many people that I've interacted with over the years and have tried and done so many things. Still, when I do something like this, I learn a few tidbits here and there, both about myself, about the sauna process, about interacting with you guys. It's been good. It's been good. It's a good challenge. And I hope that other people will do it too. Even if you don't do it every day, do 30 for 30 and do it every other day or whatever it works for you. Mark Land says, what are binders? Like for an intestinal sweep, like intestinal binders, bentonite clay, activated charcoal, zeolite, silica-based stuff. There's natural things like chlorella and things like that, but they don't really work the same. But they're all kind of in the same category. Chitosan. Susan says, do you have any information on who should not do a dry sauna and high temps? I'm saying high temps. You didn't say high temps. Yeah. I mean, anyone. We're not doctors, so can't give medical advice. If you need medical advice, please see a licensed physician. Just obvious disclaimer for people who see this on the replay. Not a demeaning comment to you, Susan, at all. But generally, if you have some type of health condition, heart condition, pacemaker, like you don't want to use a PEMF device or some other type of biohacking equipment if you have a pacemaker, because it can interfere with the operation of that. In my opinion, a far infrared sauna is not going to interfere with that in the same way. But if you have a condition like that or a device like that, you definitely want to get cleared with your doctor before you use something like this. Basically any infrared sauna, any traditional sauna, doesn't matter. But to really answer your question, who should not do a hot, dry sauna? I mean, really nobody. I mean, if you look at some of the research, it's pretty much, heat therapy is pretty much beneficial for everyone, unless you have some type of condition that doesn't allow you to either sweat, lower your core temperature naturally, like if you're imbalanced somehow and your temperature range is somehow compromised, that would probably not be a good fit. But other than that, I mean, if it's for you and you're just concerned, the best thing you can do is just start out really light, right? You just be gentle, be kind to yourself. And so the idea is not to do super hot sessions. You don't need high temps. I mean, I'm sweating right now in a makeshift DIY heat lamp sauna with the door half zipped open. Everything is wrong about this, and I'm still, sweating. I'm not sweating that great. It would be a lot better if I would get rid of this camera, the laptop, these cords, zip this thing up. You give me about 5 or 10 minutes and then bang, it would be a completely different situation. Trip Provider, do you have a sauna up in Maine when you visit there too? I did until COVID. During the COVID quarantine, when I got stuck there, I ended up driving back and took all my stuff out of there because for a few reasons. A couple of them are personal. It's a family place. So, but also I don't know if I was sure. I don't know if I was sure I knew what I was doing at that time either, if that makes any sense. So I had a couple of saunas there. One was in use inside. One was just leaning up against the wall in the garage. And then I had portable saunas. I was getting into, doing the testing, and I thought I would just leave the stuff there and go back and forth. But then once the quarantine happened and I couldn't fly home, couldn't do anything, they kept canceling my flights. Yeah, that screwed the ideas up. I'm not sure what I was thinking when I was accumulating equipment up there. It's a very small place. There's really no room for that. And that was the other thing that kind of led me to getting everything out of there, is it made it feel cramped. It was no longer enjoyable. And then kind of like my work stuff was spilling over into, leisure time lounging areas. The whole place was nothing but my crap. So had to get it out of there. How much weight do you think you will lose after the 30-day challenge? I don't know. I mean, I'm down 9 pounds this month. What's the date today? It's the 17th. Yeah, I'm down 9 pounds consistently. My weight fluctuates a lot too. I can fluctuate 5 pounds from day to day, both in water and food weight. But that's normal for me. I've been that way for 2 decades. What I would like to do, let's see, a couple months ago, I was 235, 236. That's the heaviest that I've been in my life. I would like to get, I'm definitely not going to get under, I'm probably not going to get under 210 before the end of the month. And I most likely won't even get under like 220, 218. And I'm okay with that. My body is changing rapidly, even though there's no weight reduction at this point. I've kind of plateaued a little bit on these 10 pounds. My shape is changing though. My body's restructuring, burning fat, putting on some muscle. It's really going to come down to how hard, how bad do I want it? I could lose a lot more weight in a short period of time, but I'm really trying to improve my fitness and endurance at the same time. So I'm basically killing myself on the workouts, but I'm not being super strict on the diet, because in order to kill myself on the workouts, I just got to have more calories. I've got to have more carbs. I can't do that, do this all in the same day with only one break per week. It's overtraining for me, but I don't know. It's a good question, but I'm just not sure. CC says, keep doing it. I used to do 45-minute sauna every day prior to COVID. Why aren't you doing it now? Oh, you probably were using one. I get it now. You were using one somewhere. Now you want to get one in your house so that you can do that again. I get you. Just build this. If you're going to go back to what you were doing before, do this. I'm telling you, it doesn't seem like it right now. Well, I don't know what it looks like for you guys. I can't see me, but I'm not like incredibly sweaty right this minute. This thing works. If you zip this up and use it how it's intended, this is all you need. I promise you that. Let's see. Same CC Chan. I figured as much. Man, I appreciate that. You're welcome. Vlad says, I have a clear light sanctuary corner and have difficulty getting it above 150, 155. Do you think I should get extra heater they offer? Do I even need to get it to these temperatures? No. I mean, not in my opinion. Why do you want to get it to those temperatures? Like, let me ask you something, Vlad. Hopefully you can take this, if I get a little candid, and take it the right way. It's not meant to be derogatory or demeaning. Do you want the sauna to get above 150 or 155 because when you use it, you feel like your body needs higher temperatures? Have you experienced something personally yourself, where you desire that? Like your gut is telling you, hey, this should be hotter. Or are you reading propaganda from God knows where, and it says that, there's no sauna benefits unless the sauna reaches X degrees? Because I can tell you, in an infrared sauna, the cabin temperature or the surface temperature of the heaters or whatever is only like 50, 60% of the whole equation, right? If you're saturated in infrared, which means you have large, high heat output heaters that are in a very close vicinity to you, it doesn't necessarily matter like how hot the cabin temperature is. That does not dictate or determine what goes on in your body. It does to a certain degree, but you can be, for instance, if this thing was lined with heaters at this close distance like this, and I was completely wrapped in far infrared, you could keep this thing at 135 to 139 degrees. And you could keep me in here for 3 hours and I would not stop sweating. And it's because what that's going to do to your core temperature, right? What that heat saturation is going to actually do to your body, not how hot the air is that you breathe in. So I would let me see. They talk about heat shock proteins. I think what you mean is heat shock proteins. In traditional saunas, not sure, propaganda. No, I mean, there's some validity to that, right? Like there is no replacement for displacement, right? When you see the 4-cylinder or the rice burners go down the road, and then you look at a muscle car, you can feel the difference in the vibration of the torque and the horsepower, right? If you believe that you want to breathe superheated air, or you need that in order to accomplish your goals, your health goals, then by all means do that. There's other things that you can do that are really cheap if you just want to boost the temperature. You could insulate your sauna. I think Ben Greenfield has information on this, where he put 2 inches of insulated foam on top. The clear light sanctuaries have glass on the front and half the roof. So, a lot of heat is escaping that way. If your goal is to really try to get it hot, box that in. You can put a space heater inside. You could put some of these heat lamps inside very easily. I have a video on YouTube, how to add near infrared heat lamp bulbs to any far infrared sauna for $100. It'll show you how to do that. I mean, if that's your goal, like, I don't want to deter you from something that, or you could just put in another electrical circuit and add a electric sauna heater to your clear light sanctuary. You'd be well above 200 degrees if you did that. So, I'm trying to remain objective here. I don't believe that you need to do that stuff in order to obtain those benefits, but I also don't want to deter you from experimenting and getting what you want out of your setup, if that makes sense. There are people that have done, things to achieve what you're talking about in a clear light sanctuary. So I just gave you, maybe a few things to research. But in my opinion, it does a great job stock out of the box, the way it is. But if you want to soup it up a little bit, I mean, there's merit to that. It all depends on your heat tolerance too. Like, are you struggling at 150 to 155? How long can you stay in there at 155 or 150 or even 145? Like, what's your max sauna sessions with no break, without opening the door, without getting fresh air? Just curious. Brad says, yes, do the DIY. Zipped up, I sweat bullets. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make false promises, or like, I'm hesitant to tell Dan of Get Detoxinated that, you know, this will work for their protocol. That's an extremely specific, you know, it's a long duration application. But for the average person that hasn't used more than a couple different saunas in their life, for $300, you won't find anything that works better than this on the planet. I can guarantee that. Heat shock proteins, yes. Vlad says, thanks for your explanations. Love your logic. Sure, man. Yeah, just, you know, trying to remain, you know, the goal is not me sitting in this thing going live for 30 minutes trying to sell you a bunch of shit. If it was, you know, I would say something different. So hopefully, you know, hopefully it was well received, or at least my intentions were clear or good or whatever. I'm tired. It's been a long day. How we doing on time? 40 minutes. All right. I got to go soon, guys. I need to get showered. I need some relaxation in my life tonight before bed. Just need to wind down a little bit and get ready for tomorrow. So got to do it all over again. So this is day 9. Doing pretty good as far as updates. Somebody asked yesterday how I'm doing on the 30 for 30. I think I can actually complete it 100%. There's only been 2 days where one day I was just in a bad mood, kind of angry, and I was like, yeah, I really don't want to do this tonight. But you guys kind of keep me going too. We're like, I'll do it for you, even though if I don't want to do it for myself or the sweat or whatever. But there are going to be a couple. There's going to be a couple of hiccups. Like Thanksgiving, I'll either do a morning session or an early day session, or I might just do something pre-recorded the day before and just spend time with family and friends and stuff. And I wouldn't expect anybody else to be, you know, on a live at 9 p.m. unless they're in a turkey coma. Actually, this might be funny if you're in a turkey coma. Let's see. Truth Writer says thanks. Dan says cheers. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Aideen, how long does it take to break down or to put in the corner? Aideen, I don't know who you are, but you're the reason that there you are. I don't know if you've been on here the whole time, but you are the reason that we are filming in this today. I saw your comment on 30 for 30 live from 2 days ago, and you watched the replay, and then you put a comment in the regular comment section, not in the live chat. I saw it, recorded it, and then tonight it was on the first of the to-do list things. So I grabbed all the gear, came in here, figured out how to record this. So this is for you. So if you guys aren't paying attention, I do look at your recommendations and your requests, and I try to do them as quickly or as much as I can. So the whole reason that I'm in here tonight is for you. I'm happy I recognize your little, what do you call it? Your gravatar, like the leaf thing. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think there's CC says, thank you, Matt. Vlad says, mine was 3+ hours. It's heavy? Oh, how long does it take to break down? I don't know what you guys are talking about. You talking about to install a sauna? Hey, Dean, are you talking about this thing that I'm in right now, this DIY sauna? Because it doesn't take very long. You don't have to take this apart to drag it around the room. It weighs like, I don't know, 30 pounds maybe. You could literally pick it up with one hand. Or are you talking about one of the big wooden saunas? I mean, those can take 2 hours or so to put together. Paul Aitken says, Matt, loving the 30 and 30. I'm doing one in Australia and loving it. Awesome. Good for you, man. Glad you're taking the challenge. I'm always experimenting with well-being activities and fitness hacks. It's tough with the time differences in Australia. I totally understand. Yeah, I totally get it. There's no perfect time zone. Most of the people in the States were kind of complaining if they're on Pacific time. I was doing stuff a little bit earlier and they're not out of work yet. So trying to do something that works for most people and still works for me. It doesn't keep me up too late because it's going on 10 o'clock p.m. my time. So I don't really stay up super late. I like to get up early, and I sleep better when I go to bed a little bit earlier. So yeah, I'm sorry about that, man. It's hard to get a flexible schedule that works for everybody. But it's 9:43, guys. I think I'm gonna go ahead and sign off. Getting a sub, I would consider this a subpar sweat today. All things considered, I still am maintaining a little bit of a sweat, even though this is not an optimal setup. But for anybody that watches the replay and you're wondering, or like Adine wanted to see, how does this work? It's not really a good representation of that, but I figured I would do it anyway. So for the door being open and this not being an enclosed cabin, this is pretty good for a $300 dealio. Paul says, all good, mate. I get it. All right, guys. Any last goodbyes? Truth Provider says goodbye. See you guys. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Mark Land, have a good night. Thank you, guys. I recognize all the familiar faces, so thank you for tuning in. It's always great to see you. Hope you guys are doing great, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night.